Verse 5. Let's first read it together in Hebrew. Vayomer Avram el na'arav shuvu lechem po im hachamoro va'ani ve'ana'ar nelchem ad ko v'nishtachve va'nashuva alechem. Okay, one more time. Vayomer Avram el na'arav shuvu lechem po im hachamoro ואני והנער נלכה עד פה, ונשתחווה ונשובה עליכם. Step number 1, let's divide a sentence because this is quite a long sentence. It can be quite overwhelming, but once you divide it into those shorter portions, it's very manageable. In fact, usually it's pretty easy. Again, on the exam, I would not have stopped over here. You would not have seen that there is a verse 6, but you can clearly see this is a new sentence because we have again Vav consecutive. So that is a new sentence. And also we saw that at the beginning of verse 5. It starts with the Vav consecutive, clearly a new sentence. If you keep going through this, we are looking for Asher, we are looking for Ki, for Vav, and for another verb. I'm going to just do the obvious things, and there are a couple tricky things, but we'll go step by step through it. So let's just see any vavs. We have vav right here, so that's going to be our new sentence. We have another vav right here. Now we could say that this is a new sentence. However, ve'ani and I, well, let's just start with dividing it as a new sentence, and then we can look at some other options. And then we have another vav right here, new sentence, and we have one more vav right here. We did not see any asher or anything like that. So basically all the vavs, we divided those into new sentences. Okay, so let's start with the first, vayomer. You can clearly see the vav consecutive, and so you know this is going to be your verb. It's right here, so we can right away parse this. And this is so common that you should just know how to parse this very quickly. So vav consecutive, which is imperfect, right? And yod is third masculine. If you look at the end, is there the u? And in this case there is no u, and therefore it's singular. If there is an u, it's plural. So vav consecutive 3ms. This is an irregular, it's kal. And I would have told you it's kal, but the rest you know. And it's from the verb amar, which means to say or to speak. I told you one thing earlier in the class, that this verb amar is used to introduce a direct speech. Okay, so once you see vayomer, you are expecting one of two things. Either, number one, you'll see a direct speech right after, or potentially number two, people who are involved. So speaker or the one who is listening. Okay, so speaker and the listener, they may be introduced. Other than that, you will not see anything else after vayomer but the direct speech. So let's look at what we have here. So we have vayomer Avram el na'arav. We have then he said, Abraham, right? El means to, that's a preposition. To na'arav. Na'ar means a boy. And we have a yod, so it's plural, boys. And we have a vav, and that is 3ms suffix. So to his boys, or you can say young men, teenagers. Okay, so then he said, Abraham, to his young men. I think you can already see who is he, and he in this case who is speaking is Abraham. So we take this Abraham, we take him out of here, and we just place him here. Then Abraham said to his young men. Remember, In Hebrew, usually that subject is second, and we start with a verb. In English, we have to reverse that. In English, we have to start with the subject. So then Abraham said to his boys, or to his young men. And therefore, you know that here, this is going to be a new sentence, because we are going to be listening to Abraham now. Okay? And this is what he said. He said, Shvu lachem po im ha-chamoro. The question is, where is the verb? Chamor, I don't think it was on your vocabulary yet. It will for sure be next semester. Chamor means a donkey. Im, you know, it's a preposition with. Po, you did not have. This is not a very common expression. It means here. Lachem, you also know. You see the chem, the suffix, and you know la is to. So the only options you have left is the first word, and you also know that usually the first word is the verb. Shvu. On the exam, I would tell you that this is from the root yashav. Okay, this is the root, but you can then do the rest. So what happened here when you're looking at this verb and you're trying to parse it? The hint here is extremely short form, right? Or very, very short form. And you know that those extremely short or very, very, very short forms are either imperative or infinitive constructs. Okay, and they look identical, so then you have to look at the context. There are a few changes that you can see on the imperatives, but the imperative to MS looks identical to infinitive construct. Also, we see the short vowels, and we see that the yod dropped. So when you're looking at this, it's either one or the other. From the context, you know that Abraham is speaking to his young men, so he's probably telling them something, to do something, right? So let's assume it's imperative from the context. Imperative. And if this is an imperative and you look at the u at the end, that would be second masculine plural. By the way, imperatives always second person. Don't forget that. Don't tell me that the imperative is first or third. In Hebrew, only second. U is masculine plural. If there is a yod, it would be a feminine singular. And if it is na, it's feminine plural. If there is nothing, it's masculine singular. Okay, so this is imperative to MP from the verb yashav. The verb yashav means to sit or to dwell. Okay, so he's saying shvu, sit, or you can say stay maybe. Alachem, literally to you. Then we have po, this is not on your vocabulary here. Im means with. Ha chamor, chamor is a donkey, and we have a ha, so it's the donkey. So sit to you here with the donkey. The to you is just emphasizing, he's looking at them and he's emphasizing them. You need to sit here. You, it's about you. In English, we don't need that. In English, this is not necessary. You can just say, sit here with the donkey, or stay here with the donkey. Okay, and then he continues. Ve'ani, ani means I, ve means and, so and I. Okay. However, then we have vehana'ar and the young boy. So this is actually one of those vavs. They're not that common in the Bible, but we have them once in a while. This is a list. Okay, this is a list of things. So me and the na'ar. And the na'ar means a boy. So me and the boy, me, or I and the boy. Nelcha at ko. This is your verb here, nelcha. On the exam, I would tell you that nelcha is from the root halach, but you can do the rest. So if you know that this is from the root halach, you can imagine that there is a nun at the front and there is a he at the end. what is the parsing. Nun at the front and he at the end, you can think of two options. First, you could think that this is maybe a Nifal perfect, and with the he at the end, it would be third feminine singular. However, there is another option, and we don't really have any feminine in this story, right? Another option for nun at the front is actually imperfect 1CP. And don't forget about this 1CP. I know that we don't have that many of these 1CPs in the Bible. Sometimes students forget that's an option. That is an option. Imperfect 1CP. Then the question is, what is that final he? And in the imperfect, we do have final he that sometimes shows up, and that is cohortative. If you don't remember what that is, make sure to watch the lectures or review the cohortative Joseph and imperatival. Translation is something like let us, right? It's an expression of a wish or a desire. There will be some cohortatives on the final, so you should definitely know, or Josephs, right? So special meaning of the imperfect, you should definitely know and review what it is and how to translate it. So when you're looking at the text, this doesn't fit the Nifal, right? And so it's definitely imperfect 1CP, and the he is cohortative. And we have an e underneath, neelcha. From your stems, you know that e and e are interchangeable, and therefore you are in the e group. And for the e group for stem, you have three options, and they are kal, or nifal, or hitpile. They all take the e sound, and e, you don't remember the vowels, those two are the same, they're interchangeable. These are your three options. Clearly, hitpile is out. Nifal, you would need the dagesh in the first third letter. You don't even have that letter there, so nifal is not an option. Therefore, it must be kal. Okay, so it's kal imperfect 1CP, and in this is cohortative. Translation, halach. So let me and the boy walk at ko. This is an expression which basically means over there, or until thus, or over there. Sounds better in English. Vanishtachve, I would have given you parsing and translation and everything about this, because you don't know the vocabulary, and you don't also know this form. However, you can recognize the vav, and you also can recognize the nun right here and the final he. So this is a special form. I'm not going to even mention it to you. I don't want to confuse you, but basically means and we will worship. Okay, and we will worship. And the final sentence, va nashuva alechem. We have clearly a verb right here at the front. To parse this verb, you all see the vav at the front. And then trying to figure out what verb it is, you can start by eliminating things either from the front or from the end. Can we take off the final he? Yes, it's an option. We could have a directional he, we could have a suffix, we could have some kind of a 3F as ending, feminine singular. Remember, a is a feminine sound. We could have a cohortative or something like that. So that's definitely an option. Can we take off the bet? And the answer is no. Bet is never any kind of a suffix or prefix, so that's definitely a root letter. Can we take off the shin? Again, shin is never a prefix or a suffix, so that's a root letter. And so now you can see the root, shuv. Okay, so once you recognize that, you start with the nun and end with a he. A little hint for you: verb parsings in a story often repeat, because we have the same subject. So if it is a woman speaking, most verbs will be therefore third feminine. If there is a single man, then they are going to be all 3ms or something like that. And here we have Abraham and his son, and we already had this before, right? We had this right here, and we had it right here as well with the Nelach, right? So we again have the nun and the he, one more time, nun and the he. So the parsing will be Vav. By the way, this one is not a consecutive, it's just a regular Vav. Notice the Shava under there. So Vav, and then we have 1 CP for the nun, and we have a cohortative he with cohortative he at the end. So in translation, this would be, and by the way, for the stem, don't worry about that. I would have given that to you on the exam because it's an irregular. Okay, so you don't need to know why. So translation of this would be, and we will, shuv means to turn back or return. We will return elechem, to you. By the way, in the Bible, this word shuv, it often is used with God telling Israel, shuv, return to me, and also a meaning of repentance. You shuv, you repent, you turn back, you return. And finally, it's also used with God promises. He says that he will shuv, he will surely shuv, return. Shuva shuv, remember the infinitive absolute, which means certainly, shuv, ashuv with the aleph, that would be I will return, with the shuv in front with the infinitive would be I will certainly, I will definitely return. Okay, so here it means, and we, plural, we will return to you.